Got you updated. This is Radio Imanzi News in English.
This is Radio Imanzi broadcasting from Kigali. Here is the news in English, brought to you by Fiona Muganwa. The headlines. Leaders from the 54 Commonwealth countries met this morning in Kigali for the official opening ceremony of the 26th Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting. The Minister of Finance and Economic Planning has presented the National Budget Draft Bill proposal for financial year 2022-2023 with an increase in budget spending and focus on projects to attain the National Strategy for Transformation 1. Participants at the ongoing European Union Africa Business Summit in Brussels have exchanged ideas on how the two continents can build a new partnership aimed at ensuring sustainable food security. Welcome back. News in detail. Leaders from the 54 Commonwealth countries met this morning in Kigali for the official opening ceremony of the 26th Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting. Gaston Ruchibigango has this report.
Chocm 2022 opening ceremony was attended by the Prince of Wales, who represented Queen Elizabeth II, UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson, the Commonwealth Secretary General Right Honourable Patricia Scotland, heads of state and representative of leaders of the 54 countries, as well as invited guests who included the Emir of Qatar, invited by President Kagame. President Paul Kagame, the incoming chair in office for the next 2 years, called on members to focus on addressing challenges faced by citizens of the Commonwealth. He said, the Commonwealth we need is on the front lines of global challenges, not on peripheral watching events unfold.
The Commonwealth we need
front lines of global challenges
is on the front lines of global challenges, not on the periphery watching events unfold. Our special strength is to bring issues into focus that might otherwise be overlooked. For instance, the way that climate change puts the very existence of small islands and developing states into jeopardy, or the possibility to transcend size and geography by leveraging new technologies to create high-quality global jobs for our youth right at home. We are united by a shared language, whether English is our first, second, third, or even fourth one. But what really defines us are the values enshrined in the Commonwealth Charter and a commitment to good governance, the rule of law, and the protection of rights. That's why we shall always remain open to new voices and new members. And wherever we might fall short, we find solutions through consensus and dialogue. We build each other up and we move forward together. In closing, I want to welcome you all to Rwanda. Ours is a country that was torn apart by genocide and division just a generation ago. Today, we are a nation transformed in heart, mind, and body. 3/4 of our population are young people with no memory of those events. Everything we do, including joining the Commonwealth in 2009, is aimed at making sure that our people are connected, included, and forward-looking. We are delighted that through Chocm, you have the opportunity to get to know us, and we aim to repay that trust with many years of continued friendship. I thank you.
The Prince of Wales said, coming for the first time and visiting the genocide memorial and speaking to the survivors, he has been overwhelmed by the resilience, grace, and determination of the Rwandan people.
We should never forget the things which do not change. The close and trusted partnership between Commonwealth members, our common values and shared goals, and perhaps most importantly, the strong and enduring connections between the peoples of the Commonwealth which strengthen us all. These shared values, goals, and friendships transcend the ties of shared history, as we saw in welcoming Mozambique and Rwanda to this great family of nations. And now, coming to Rwanda for the first time, visiting the genocide memorial and speaking to survivors, I have been overwhelmed by the resilience, grace, and determination of the Rwandan people. Today, Rwanda upholds so much that is extraordinary as a center for innovation, a world leader in women's empowerment, a growing hub for the green economy, and a commitment to a united future. If we are to forge a common future that benefits all our citizens, we too must find ways, new ways, to acknowledge our past. Quite simply, this is a conversation whose time has come. Your Excellencies, conversations start with listening, and as the Queen said at our last meeting, the Commonwealth has always been and remains a global association which believes in the tangible benefits that flow from exchanging ideas and experiences and respecting each other's point of view. Our ingenuity, knowledge, and ideas, our courage and determination are truly our common wealth. By unlocking our potential, we can build a future in which all our people have a stake, ensuring that our Commonwealth Charter represents not just words on a page, but the lived experience of all. And in so doing, we will equip our children and grandchildren to be agents of a better future.
The Secretary General of the Commonwealth, the Right Honourable Patricia Scotland, noted that Commonwealth today is a place where people come together, work together, where no voice is louder or more important than any other, and where there is no one left behind.
I believe profoundly that the Commonwealth today, in 2022, is a beacon within that international system, a place where people come together, where we work together, where no voice is louder or more important than any other, and where no one is left behind. The economic damage of COVID and mounting debt confront us all. The rapid intensification of climate change poses an existential threat. The tremors of conflict and instability in our world, the spiraling costs of food and fuel, and economic uncertainty threaten a serious and protracted crisis. This Chocm is first and foremost an opportunity to find answers to these questions. It will not be easy. We will have to dig deep. We will have to respect each other and find what joins us. We must trust each other.
During one of the sessions held in the build-up to the gathering of the heads of state and government this week, it was announced that the Commonwealth Secretariat has secured $10 million in extra funding for small island developing states, which will help engage and place young people at the heart of decisions affecting their future, including on climate change and sustainable development. The Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, Boris Johnson, emphasized that the pandemic posed a common threat to all humanity. The same is true of catastrophic climate change. No one understands this better than our Commonwealth friends in the Caribbean, the Pacific, and the Indian Ocean.
The pandemic posed a common threat to all humanity, and the same is true of catastrophic climate change. No one understands this better than our Commonwealth friends in the Caribbean, the Pacific, and the Indian Ocean, who can see the incoming tide surging ever higher up their beaches, threatening to inundate their villages and towns, and in time, the entire landmass of some island states. For them, the baleful effects of climate change aren't vague or theoretical, but already happening before their eyes. When we hosted COP26 in Glasgow last November, it was these fellow Commonwealth leaders who spoke with the greatest urgency and authority about the perils of quilting the earth with greenhouse gases. And we in the developed world have an obligation to help our friends to cope with a danger they had no hand in causing.
President Paul Kagame is set to take over as the chair in office of the Commonwealth of Nations from the UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson on Saturday.
The Commonwealth heads of government have reappointed Baroness Patricia Scotland as the Secretary-General of the Commonwealth. The decision was arrived at today during the executive session of the bloc's leaders during the 26th Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting in Kigali. According to the New Times Rwanda, an official from the Commonwealth Secretariat said that Scotland's reappointment had to be put to a vote because there was a challenger. Scotland was standing against Jamaica's Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade Minister Kamina Johnson. The official noted that leaders of the Commonwealth made the decision by consensus to reappoint Secretary-General the Right Honourable Patricia Scotland QC for a further 2 years to complete the balance of her period in office. A Commonwealth Secretary-General can serve a maximum of 2 terms of 4 years each. However, Scotland's first term has lasted for 6 years as a result of the coronavirus pandemic, which delayed the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting by 2 years. She was elected to the post at Chocm Summit in Malta in 2015 and took office on April 1st, 2016, becoming the second Secretary-General from the Caribbean and the first woman to hold the post. The Commonwealth foreign ministers have met face-to-face in Kigali for the first time in almost 3 years. Gaston Chibigango with this report.
The Kigali meeting discussed the Chocm theme, delivering a common future, connecting, innovating, and transforming. The Commonwealth Secretary-General, the Right Honourable Patricia Scotland, said, "It is a source of great joy that we are finally back together in person at Chocm after so many years of change and challenges and so much detailed planning. Since Chocm 2018 in London, we have worked intensively to help member countries responding to their needs, priorities, and requests. We have blended our technical assistance with advocacy advocacy at the highest levels of the international system. She added that in a changing world, we need unity and purpose drawn deep from the wells of Commonwealth history, values and potential to achieve our shared goals and realize our potential. Ministers discussed new and evolving challenges to ensuring peacefully, just and inclusive societies and how the Commonwealth is addressing these challenges now and in the future. They also considered issues like development, climate change and environment and oceans, sustainable energy, youth and innovation. Ministers discussed how member states should address these complex issues with a special focus on the needs of small states and least developed countries. Ministers also examined the severe consequences of COVID-19 pandemic on public health systems, trade and connectivities. Also, the ministers heard how Commonwealth can strengthen health security and resilience, support trading system and small state. The meeting was also attended by the UN Deputy Secretary General Amina J. Mohammed and the Director General of the World Health Organization, Dr. Tedros, who offered ideas for greater interorganizational collaborations to tackle these matters.
Moving on from Chocm matters, now Rwandan Prime Minister Dr. Edward Ngirente and his Mauritius counterpart are expected this Sunday to jointly inaugurate a first of its kind 5 megawatt hydroelectric plant named Mushishito Rukarara. The power station is located on the Rukarara River in Nyamagabe district in the southern province of Rwanda, approximately 182 kilometers southwest of Kigali. The project construction was launched in 2017 and the first phase was completed in 2019. Phase 2 is expected to be completed by the end of 2022. The plant is estimated to reduce carbon emissions by about 14,500 metric tons per year, comparable to planting 1,000 hectares of trees per year. It is expected to power on average 175,000 households in Rwanda. The plant will also be connected to Rwanda's national grid. Rwanda's energy mix is made up of 55% renewable energy sources, of which 78% is hydro. In total, Rwanda has 37 hydropower plants connected to its national grid. The Rwanda Food and Drugs Authority has this morning signed an MOU with FDA Ghana on collaboration in areas of mutual interest, especially in the preparation of Rwanda FDA's attainment of Maturity Level 3 and technical assistance related to the regulation of medicines and vaccines in both countries. The signing of the MOU on partnership and vaccines manufacturing regulatory oversight comes a day after the leaders of Rwanda, Senegal and Ghana cut sought for a vaccine manufacturing facility in Kigali with a fill and finish collaboration in Ghana. The Minister of State in the Ministry of Health, Dr. Tarsis Munga, explains how the fill and finish collaboration between the agencies will work.
If there's something the world learned from COVID pandemic, it is that collaboration is a center of initiatives and efforts in the race of fighting against shared health challenges of such magnitude. This pandemic also demonstrates some major challenges and the gaps in our health system that we must address, especially the shortage of medical products, including vaccines on the African continent. Therefore, there is an urgent need to have a local manufactured medical product, and this is very vital for the preparedness of future pandemics, and it offers a great solution to our dependency on imported medical products. The government of Rwanda, in collaboration with different partners, is at the end stage of establishing a high-end vaccine production based on novel technology and manufacturing process in Rwanda. One of the building blocks of our sustainability manufacturing facility is a strong regulatory authorities. Thus, the government of Rwanda has invested heavily in establishing functional regulatory infrastructure to facilitate the establishment and the control of vaccine production. The implementation of this MOU will move the regulation oversight to another level. A partnership with the WHO Maturity Level 3 institutions such as Ghana FDA will not only foster regulation reliance and information sharing, but also will enable the capacity of building personnel of the two institutions. The achievement of this milestone will not have been possible without the support of different partners.
The Chief Executive Officer of the Food and Drugs Authority in Ghana, Mrs. Delisi Mimi Darko, emphasized on the importance of the agreement between the two agencies.
The relationship between the Ghana FDA and the Rwanda FDA dates back to 2017, when the staff of Rwanda FDA participated in a training course for clinical trial authorization and later in pharmacovigilance in Ghana. Since then, we have become like two families, with several meetings with the Rwanda High Commissioner, my dear friend, Her Excellency Dr. Isa Kasira, and the Rwanda FDA DG, that has led to this agreement on a roadmap for collaboration between our two agencies. This was affirmed when the DG and I met in Germany during our recent visit to the Paul Ehrlich Institute later this year. Today, we are here to witness the first major step on the roadmap, which is to sign an MOU for the collaboration to strengthen the regulatory systems of our respective agencies, especially to provide support to the Rwanda FDA, prepare for formal WHO benchmarking towards attainment of WHO Maturity Level 3. More importantly, this MOU also reflects our joint commitment as regulators to collaboratively ensure the safety, quality, and efficacy of the first mRNA COVID-19 vaccine to be manufactured in Africa, for which we witnessed the groundbreaking ceremony for the BioNTech manufacturing plant here in Kigali yesterday. The drug product manufactured by BioNTech plant in Rwanda will be filled and finished by DEK Vaccines Manufacturing Plant in Ghana, which the chairman, Mr. Insiapoko, is here with us today. The two sites, it not only necessitates but calls for strong ties between our two regulatory agencies. Indeed, our support to Rwanda FDA to implement its institutional development plans towards attainment of maturity level 3 has commenced prior to this event, and we look forward to working together, but more importantly, to learn from each other and to create enabling regulatory environment to promote trade between our two respective countries in respect of all other products that we regulate. The important thing in any collaboration is to build trust, and this is done by keeping communication channels open and always being transparent. The FDA Ghana assures the Rwanda FDA that we will always be open and our doors will remain open to you, and our staff will be available to you as long as it's needed. God bless us all. Murukaze Chane. Thank you very much.
The Director General of Rwanda FDA, Professor Emile Bienvenu, pointed out that it is easier to work with the Food and Drug Administration and regulations when you have a partnership agreement in place to share information and increase capacity with other agencies.
Some items of international news on Radio Imanzi.
Participants at the ongoing European Union Africa Business Summit in Brussels exchanged ideas on how the two continents can build a new partnership aimed at ensuring sustainable food security. The Vice President of African Development Bank, Solomon Quaina, said with the European commercial banks, they are working to provide trade finance facilities. They are to reshare in their portfolios in terms of exposure to African industry and to ensure that the fertilizer and seeds that are needed on an emergency basis do get delivered to Africa. Africa's precarious food security situation is the result of a variety of factors, some of which are structural. While African farmers have land, they must depend on other countries for essential inputs such as fertilizer. And at the European Union Africa Summit in Brussels, participants are calling for more private sector involvement and investment in African agriculture. The war in Ukraine has not only caused a global grain shortage, but that of fertilizer too. This is both a challenge and an opportunity for African fertilizer makers. Experts say achieving a long-term food security in Africa will rest heavily on building resilient agriculture value chains, investing in climate change adaptation infrastructure and local manufacturing. The United Nations have said that its findings showed that the shot that killed Al Jazeera TV journalist Shireen Abu Akleh on May 11th was fired by Israeli forces. The Palestinian-American journalist, who was wearing a vest-marked press and helmet, was killed on May 11th while covering an Israeli army operation in Jenin camp in the northern Western Bank. UN Human Rights Chief Michelle Bachelet has urged Israel to open a criminal investigation into Abu Akleh's killing and into all other killings by Israeli forces in the West Bank and in the context of law enforcement operations in Gaza.
Economic news is a regular feature on Radio Imanzi.
The Minister of Finance and Economic Planning has presented the National Budget Draft Bill proposal for fiscal year 2022-2023 with an increase in budget spending and focus on projects to attain the National Strategy for Transformation 1. The budget proposal presented this June to both chambers of parliament is 4.6 trillion Rwandan francs, indicating an increase of 217.8 billion, equivalent to 5% compared to the earlier 4.4 trillion Rwandan francs approved in the 2021-2022 revised budget line. Minister Uzia said this budget reflects successes made in confronting the COVID-19 pandemic through vaccination rollout and other measures, as well as the economic recovery that started in 2021. It has also considered the crisis brought by the Russia-Ukraine war, which is affecting the recovery effort by rising oil and food prices. Prioritization in resource allocation to various sectors has been guided by critical considerations that enhance the National Strategy of Transformation 1 delivery, economic recovery plan interventions, prioritization of ongoing projects, emphasis on transformation and sustainability and resilience to humans and socio-economic infrastructure to shocks. The government will allocate 2.7 trillion to the economic transformation pillar. These resources will scale up agriculture productivity, create jobs, support private sector development, and strengthen climate change mitigation measures. It will also increase access to electricity and clean water, support urbanization and settlement, improve the national road network, scale up adoption of ICT, automate Umurenje SACCOs, and implement agriculture de-risking and financing facilities. Moreover, 1.2 trillion Rwandan francs, approximately 26.4% of the entire budget, will be allocated to social transformation. The budget share will be spent on improving quality and access to health and education, eradicating extreme poverty through scaling up social protection programs, improving nutrition through early detection, provision of fortified foods, and scaling of early childhood development facilities. The funds will also promote family and gender, sports and culture, as well as disaster management through enhancing disaster preparedness, response and recovery. Under the transformational governance pillar, government will spend 707.1 billion, approximately 15.2% of the total budget. This allocation will focus on promotion of quality service delivery across public and private sectors, good governance and transformational leadership, strengthening public finance management, strengthening justice, law and order, maintaining peace and security, and strengthening crime prevention, as well as supporting international cooperation through strengthening economic diplomacy. In the event of internal and external factors that may affect Rwanda's operating economic environment, such as drought or decrease in global commodity prices that may affect the country's export prices. The minister assured parliamentarians that government will closely monitor such developments and take necessary measures to ensure full implementation of Rwanda's economic program. The Parliament unanimously approved the draft budget law determining the state finances for the 2022-2023 fiscal year. This law shall come into force on the date of its publication in the Official Gazette of the Republic of Rwanda. It becomes effective from 1st July 2022. Now the Rwanda Stock Exchange Market Report. The trading session recorded its total turnover of 208,686,200 Rwandan francs worth of bonds traded in 2 deals on the fixed income market and 96,000 Rwandan francs from 600 Blairwa shares traded in 1 deal on the equities market. The equities counters closed with Blairwa at 160 Rwandan francs, Bank of Kigali at 265, I&M Bank at 43, M10 Rwanda at 177, Simerwa at 120, Equity Bank at 440, Kenya Commercial Bank at 370, National Major Group at 1,200, Uchumi Supermarket at 104, and RH Buffalo closed the counter at 526 Rwandan francs as the market closed. Now the currency market review of today. The Kenyan shilling buying price was 8.6 Rwandan francs. The selling price was 8.8 Rwandan francs. Tanzanian shilling buying price was 0.43 Rwandan francs, and the selling price was 0.44 Rwandan francs. Ugandan shilling buying price was 0.273, and the selling price was 0.278. Burundian franc buying price was 0.49, and the selling price was 0.5. The US dollar buying price 1,013. And the selling price was 1,033. The British pound buying price was 1,244, and the selling price was 1,269. The euro buying price was 1,068, and the selling price was 1,089. There you have it. That we come to the end of tonight's edition. However, we are going to leave you with the opening ceremony of Chocm 2022 in Kigali. We're going to hear a welcoming speech from President Paul Kagame, a speech by the reappointed Commonwealth Secretary General, Right Honourable Patricia Scotland QC, and the speech by the Prime Minister of UK, Right Honourable Boris Johnson, who is also the outgoing chair of the Commonwealth Community. We're going to also hear an address by His Royal Highness, the Prince of Wales, Prince Charles.
Inama nyirizina iza gutangira.